Hello everybody, it's the Historical Gamer once again, and today we are returning to Strategic Command Concert of Europe. This is the newest DLC out for Strategic Command American Civil War, a turn-based strategy and war game made by Fury Software, published by Matrix and Slytherin Games. This was taken from a live stream on my Twitch channel from a couple of days back. Actually, the live stream was sponsored. The first episode of this series was sponsored. I guess this one is too. But that being said, guys, so thank you to the folks at Slytherin and Matrix for making that possible. We are picking things up in this new DLC in the Crimea campaign. There are 5 campaigns that come with the DLC. One of them is playing the siege of Sevastopol in the Crimean War, sort of the early phase of the siege. It only goes through like the first month of the campaign and the Crimea, and then like if you don't win there, if you're still besieging the city, kind of along the historical path, it sort of switches into something more akin to a minor victory, which I guess is how it would classify the actual siege. But if you can win early, then it's a major victory. So that's where we find ourselves. We have managed to get our troops around Sevastopol. We have Sevastopol cut off. The fleet is bombarding, although that doesn't seem to have much of a real effect on the gameplay. We've taken Kamish Bay for the French headquarters. We've taken Balaclava for the British headquarters. And we also have a Russian army coming in from our rear, much stronger than our own, trying to break in and liberate the city, while we simultaneously need to try and reduce the enemy fortifications in Sevastopol and win the siege. So we'll see if we can do that. That's where we're picking things up. This was taken from a live stream on my Twitch channel. But yeah, that's the intro. 2 minutes of me rambling, that's enough. Let's go ahead and jump in and see how things play out in this episode. Gonna need to spend some money next turn reinforcing some troops, but hopefully the weather cooperates. As long as it's not rainy, we can move around much more quickly. Also, since we did lose that one French brigade, we can go ahead and buy a new one. It is gonna take 12 turns? Jesus. So they'll arrive in October 26th, so 12 turns from now. That's half the game. I also will need to deploy some maybe some of these French troops coming online can deploy to the south as blocking troops. Trying to get these British siege guns up is a pain in the ass. Did the British lose anyone yet? No. Okay. It is a long way from Paris, Mon Napoleon. Alright, so they destroy that Ottoman unit. Not too worried about that. That was expected. Okay, so we're going to hit the head of our column. Also, the troops nearing Crimea. Okay. God, they got a lot more guns than I thought. Once we got through that first fort into their lines, there's so much more. They didn't even weaken the infantry that attacked them. At least the enemy isn't shifting. I mean, so double-edged sword, right? If they had been shifting their troops around in their fortress lines, they might be able to destroy that brigade, but then they'd sacrifice their entrenchments. Okay. I need to use these rivers to try and delay them in the east, but I also like kind of need to attack where I've got advantages to try and lessen their advantage. Because right now they've got 48 units. That's a lot to try and contend with. If I can lessen their numbers by destroying units like that, that'll go a long way to giving me a chance. Of course, I need breathing room to take units off the line. so they can reinforce. This is better ground, I think, anyway, to push them out of that fortress guns range. All right, these guys need to withdraw. They can't. Fuck. They can't get far enough out, anyway. All right, the siege guns. I guess we work on the infantry here. Three? I lose 3 for attacking these guys? I need those other siege guns up here now. I can get them here, but at the cost of their morale. I don't know how important morale is for siege guns, to be honest. Alright, some of these troops are going to have to go west, or sorry, east. To face the surging Russian troops. Alright, so we destroyed 2 of their units, right? So they're down to 46 units. We'll see if it stays that or if they keep getting more reinforcements. It's gonna be annoying if they get reinforcements constantly, but wouldn't shock me. I hope those troops can reinforce there. Meanwhile, spending a big chunk of our British, not even that much actually, but a chunk of our money on reinforcements. The units to deploy, French headquarters, we'll do that. I wonder if there's a certain number of Allied navies begin a bombardment of Sevastopol. Does it have any impact? Is it just a morale thing, or does it actually have an impact? Oh god, they're shooting my siege guns. I didn't even consider that a possibility. Ah, they're flanking me. Please retreat, infantry. Thank you. It does let them across the river, perhaps, but saves them from destruction for the moment. Okay, enemy troops advancing in the south and in the north. There's so many of them. The Russians have no... I don't know. They still have troops in the north attacking the old fort. They haven't even taken that yet. That's definitely different. They took it by now in the previous time I tried playing. Alright, I need to move troops to Balaclava stat. I can't lose that or we lose the game. Did they get any more troops? They were at 46. They're still at 46. Okay. Nice. We killed that unit. Okay. Shattered that guy. Reinforce these. They crossing the river here? No. Okay. Pull them out of harm's way. Nearly destroyed this Russian unit here. Okay. God, these casualties attacking these enemy troops and their entrenchments are so devastating. They're at 1. Alright, their entrenchment is gone. So now, maybe I should have softened them up with artillery before? I don't know. Okay. I would like some space. All right, another enemy destroyed. Now that one doesn't have artillery with it, but so now we'll have 2 units. I mean, the problem here is they can probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units in range. It's a lot of artillery they've got in range of our infantry, though. They can probably destroy 1 brigade relatively easy. We'll see. Okay. I don't think I have enough troops in the east here defending against the Russians' attempt to get across there, so I probably should move some more. Alright, we're gonna do a little bit of a fighting withdrawal. Pull back here in the south. We've got 3 regiments on the way to help there. Let's make it 4. They're at 43 units. Bold-faced charges into prepared defenses builds character. Yeah, if you survive. Also leads to epic war poems, right? That and starvation is what I hear. If they divide their attacks between our troops... I mean, if the infantry attacks, we still might be screwed, but we'll see. Those troops are not having a good day. A lot of artillery fire. Yeah, you know, they do have pretty fancy uniforms. Gotta give them that. The old fort is down! Well, at least it tied up 2 or more Russian units up that way. Ouch. That British unit's not having a good day either. At least the Russian unit used up all its movement points and couldn't attack again. Fighting retreat toward Balaclava? Seems to be the direction we're going. Again, if we lose Balaclava, we lose the game, so... Instead of the British sending reserves down here, it's the French. Alright, let's reinforce this guy, hopefully to full strength. Hopefully he can survive. Ah, I drove him back. Are they still 43 or did they get more? They got more troops? 9 more units deployed? Hopefully they deployed far away and have to march a long way to get to us. Okay. Being in a swamp is generally a bad tactical position. I want to reinforce these guys to full strength since they didn't fight. Maybe we can defeat him near Balaclava with the troops I'm arranging there. British fortress guns are in action. Really? They can't shoot there? God damn it. Well, since headquarters don't have morale... Where does it make more sense to shoot? Maybe here? Alright, the enemy headquarters has got to be out of entrenchments. Not quite, I guess. God damn it. Alright, so they may get one of our units here, I don't know, we'll see. But their headquarters has lost its entrenchment value. It's also down to 6 strength. I don't think any of these guys can still attack. Just these guys are at half strength. I'm going to reinforce. Okay. All right. We shall see. Move there so they can't attack from 3 sides. British still haven't lost anybody. Arg. I'm not sure, like, the problem at Sevastopol is the enemy guns. And the enemy guns are a little bit out of my reach right now. But they do a hell of a lot of damage, if not necessarily always kill, like, they do eventually do hit point damage. But it's also like, they crush your morale. Okay. I'm waiting. Whoa, they crossed the river real easy there. That's a concern. I'm trying to use the river as a defensive line. Obviously, they bypass it in the south there, Balaclava, but that you moving in on Kamara is a concern. Okay. We've at least isolated them. I don't think they can cross as easily there anymore. Let's reinforce these French and Ottomans before I forget. Reinforce these guys since they didn't get pressed near Takir. Can we isolate this unit that's pushing up against Balaclava? Enemy guns firing at my cavalry. How do we not defeat them? Alright. I was hoping to do a little more damage to these guys in the south, but... oh well. Alright, so we... at least for the moment, I think the drive in the south near Balaclava is stunted. Nearly destroyed a Russian regiment back this way. I'm sure there's a lot more coming. Use that turn to reinforce the troops on the river lines. These guys are entrenched at level 1. That's like nothing. Siege gun! Alright, so their entrenchments are gone. 1 to 4, hell yeah. I'm hoping that if we destroy their headquarters, it reduces their effectiveness generally. Usually in strategic command games, that's how it works. How do we not destroy them yet? There we go. Kornilov's headquarters gone. I don't really have a overstrength unit I'd want to deploy in there, though. Whoever's going to end up there is going to be probably getting chewed up. I believe it doesn't... I don't know if it actually impacts their supply if we take that. See if we can wreck the morale of the adjoining infantry unit here so it won't be an effective counterattacker against us there. Alright, I guess I'll put the one unit in there that can make it there. I don't love doing that, but... Reinforce you. Okay. Here's the problem. Now that we've advanced to here, 1, 2, 3. I think we're getting real dangerously close to where these north side guns can start aiding in the defense. And if you start adding an additional bunches of batteries, that's going to become a challenge. But we'll see. Okay. Generally, Russian morale is not doing so hot. Granted, ours isn't great either, but... And move these troops to Kamara so that the enemy can't move in there and get a supply center. Because towns do provide supply. But I think that does it for this turn. I'm really nervous about the enemy counterattack this next turn. From an artillery point of view, I guess we'll see. I'm wondering why last night went so much worse for my assaults on the forts. Maybe because I'm using the artillery more intelligently. But I wonder also if some of the casualties we took early reduced our morale more. Like the national morale more. Because that impacts all units. I'm also not sure why they're shooting at that unit rather than the unit in the salient. Unless they already know they can destroy the unit in the salient with all the other units. Maybe. They're going to attack with infantry, so that'll be hard. Okay, those counterattacks for the Russians were far costlier for them than I was anticipating. They lost 4 and 3 units respectively. Those are meaningful losses. They're moving away from Balaclava now. They're like, oh, we ran into a wall. We can't attack here. They're going to reinforce that artillery. I got to get that infantry out of the salient. Yeah, that regiment hanging by a thread. If they had a single additional artillery unit, they could probably finish it off. Those heavy guns do a lot of damage, but... maybe they don't. It doesn't appear so. And it was bad weather for the Russians when they were attacking, and good weather for us now that it's our turn. All right, get these guys out of here. Good job, Codrington Brigade. And now that the enemy lost so many men in their attack, they're going to try and reduce their fortifications, but I can bust this wide open if I can dislodge them. It's a tall task defeating 2 enemy dug-in units in 1 turn, but the 2 siege guns in the north might help. Alright, their entrenchments are 0. Okay, that's good, right? Yeah, that's good. Eat up the enemy defensive artillery with an attack by an unminiated unit, which also, surprisingly, does very well. Can we use the Turks to finish them off? Yes, we can. Alright, the Turks finish that unit off. We're going to need to start reducing these fortifications. I don't have a lot of fresh troops to move in. There we go. Another unit destroyed. They have no, maybe one. No more mobile forces on the south side. For now, anyway. They're trying to push troops across the river, obviously. There we go. They got one unit across, and then we instantly destroyed them. Okay. Really? Alright, finished off that infantry unit which was surrounded. Gonna attack the enemy artillery directly with the heavy cavalry brigade. Don't worry, no charge of the light brigade here. Shattered that brigade. Alright, we've surrounded 2 brigades down here on the south. The Russians are at 45 units. Swinging behind these guys. Shattered that regiment. Alright. Alright. Put him here. They obviously still have a lot more units than we do. They've still got 44 units. I don't know where they all are, but they still have more units than ours. Some of them might, I don't know if they like automatically get more troops, then have to like reform or something. I'm not really sure. Let's move the siege gun forward. Alright, now I probably need to spend the next turn near the Sevastopol assault pausing and catching our breath. I don't know, we'll see what happens elsewhere, but some of these units need reinforcements, so we'll see what the losses are after these additional Russian guns kick in. Those counterattacks out of the trenches really kind of screwed the Russians on the south side there because they lost 30 to 40% of 2 regiments. And then I was able to get 2 in a single turn. That is not... I've never seen that. I mean, I've only played this twice, but that certainly didn't happen the first playthrough. A lot of enemy artillery firing here on our lead regiments. Some counter battery fire there. Good job, boys. Russian cavalry trying to break out, attacking the French there. Enemy infantry ran headlong into a French regiment they didn't see. That kills their maneuver. The woods here to the east of the Chernaya River. Bloodbath. Truly got us on our side with the rain working in our favor. We'll see. Next turn probably will be rainy and we'll be the ones in trouble. Alright, they suffer attrition. They're surrounded. That French unit I bought has arrived. Really? It told me it was supposed to be bloodless. Alright. 2 regiments destroyed there in the south near Balaclava. Should allow us to focus on... securing this river line here in the south a bit better. I don't know that I want to do 2 to 3 exchange. Ended up being 3 to 3 exchange. I definitely know I didn't want to do that. Right, destroyed that regiment. Okay. I wonder if Russia's morale dropping below 50% is playing a role here, and they're seemingly fighting less effective than last night. Not to jinx it or anything. Another regiment destroyed. Every time you destroy an enemy regiment, it has a big fighting spirit impact. Maybe it's not national morale, it's fighting spirit. Yeah. Okay. Good, good, good. Alright, now we're going to spend this turn reinforcing some units that need to reinforce. Question is, what's the level of... I think going for the enemy guns is the right approach, because I can do quite a bit of damage to them just with my own artillery. Might even be able to destroy them here. They don't have the same entrenchment perks that the infantry did. There we go, another unit destroyed on the south side of Sevastopol. We're using our British siege guns here to reduce these fortifications. Okay. They're still at 4 entrenchment, but also destroying that field gun is mighty nice because that's another enemy unit that shoots at you. Shoots at your infantry. They do have 1 infantry unit left here. I probably just got this infantry unit killed by charging it forward 2 hexes. Mainly thinking about when the enemy guns kick in next turn. Wow. 3? Didn't anticipate that result. Got another fortress. Hell yeah, brothers. All right. Enemy morale is down to 46%, and we knocked out 2 of their firing pieces on the southern side. Now, they do probably get another gun or 2 in the north in range now, but they lost 2 guns in the south, so hopefully that counteracts it. All right. They pulled their artillery and all their troops are moving toward Balaclava out of the south. All right. Enemy is sitting at 40 units. We'll see if they get more reinforcements next turn. British have burned through all that stockpiled MPPs with reinforcements, so we're still getting 100 per turn, but we're on our way to like 300 or so. Fortress is going to attack those guys. They're doing more damage. I don't know how they're crossing that river. Is that like a ford? It seems like they can cross that river more easily than normal. Now, what they did last night was they focused on the Swampex as a way to get in around the corner of this harbor or bay and get in troops into the city. I was much weaker last night from casualties unintelligently taken. One to 5, Jesus. The problem is that swamp is not where you want to defend. The hill to the north of the swamp is. Or maybe even this ground out here. The swamp is just really bad, or marsh or whatever is really bad ground to try and hold. But so a considerable number of troops coming down this way. I'd be really tempted to move someone there to try and destroy that unit, but... Okay. The enemy's dropped below 40 now. They're at 38 units. My regular artillery can't reach them there. God is always on our side. All right. Reinforce these guys. That's all my money for the Brits. Okay. I need these guns to move forward a little bit more. The problem is I can't really... What's their entrenchments at? 5? trying to keep as many of these guys off the front line as I can because of the massive... Those field artillery have 7 entrenchments. The previous ones had... whatever. The massive sort of experience penalty, or entrenchment penalty. But I need to reduce their entrenchments, so... Okay. I'd like to get these siege guns in here. So we can... Because I think if we take this objective, we win. We might have to hold longer, but... Alright, so those guns should... Alright, we'll see. We'll see what next turn has in store for us. I don't know. The French still have excess money. The British really don't. Okay, Russian morale's down to 42%. 83 for the British and 90 for the French. The French are just happy. Elan! Hey, Hauser, how you doing? Well, you got a little white H there. By the way, apparently I missed Furious that you resubbed. Thank you for that. And then Sauron, thank you for the follow. Clip that. Sauron, thank you for the follow. Sauron, big fan of the Historical Gamer channel. Listen, we got the Servant of Morgoth in the chat, man. Big things, they're gonna destroy that unit. They destroyed us. That's the second French unit we've lost. Sauron cheats with map hacks? Probably. Oh my... Wait. What just happened there? Okay. Here I was, oh so confident. Now a new threat has emerged. Major thrust in the center there near Trecatur. The AI seems to attack and then withdraw a lot more in this. I don't know if that was I can't remember if that was a thing in ACW, because that's what the base game is here. But certainly seems to be the case here. What's their entrenchment now? 1. Now it's 0. I think if we take this hex here, we win. Alright, well that was easy-ish. Defensive artillery. I was hoping to destroy this guy. Six, 5. Do we have any other units that those guys can attack? attacking from a kind of terrible terrain, but... Alright, we've got some guns here that have 2 shells because they've been out of range. I'm assuming the enemy artillery is going to punish us this turn. Hopefully they don't destroy more than 1 unit. 1 to 6, that's a favorable result. Shattered a regiment. Okay. Let's reinforce those guys. Big push here. There's a road I didn't see there that's uncovered. Probably knock that regiment out from attacking next turn, I would guess. Block the road. So they've got an army down here. They could bring it up to threaten. Those are 2 good results. Alright, took out half the strength without a loss on that regiment. Enemy morale down to 35%. Alright, so we still have all the artillery to contend with. One of the batteries probably won't be used because of the losses they took, but the other guys will be probably in range of more guns than I feel comfortable with. But let's see what happens now that we took that one. Or wait, do we still need to do something here? I'd be curious what they still have in the northern forts, but... Ah! Alright, that British brigade may get toast. They got a lot of cavalry up there. Alright, they're going to focus hopefully on that northern brigade. Okay. I don't know what taking Sevastopol proper does to anything else. Oh, just gives you a victory. Alright. Major victory! Victor point position 100%, fighting spirit 85 to 35, map controlled MPPs. Well, we don't have any map controlled MPPs. That's the nature of the scenario. They killed 4 of our units. We killed 30. So, pretty decisive result there. Doesn't count all the times like units had to be reinforced. So they had this push here that we, I think, thoroughly contained. A few units up here that weren't going to push past an equal number. South seemed fine. North, there was no way we were getting into the northern side of Sevastopol. Where are the rest of their units? It seemed like they had more than that. A couple units in the rear, but that was about it. All right. Well, I'm pretty happy with that result. I struggled last night. This is a tricky scenario to balance what you leave on the river. I think you really just have to pick a point and try to create salience and then push into the fortifications slowly. Make sure to pull your units back consistently after they attack. Leave enough MPPs. Don't try to rush it. Leave enough MPPs that you can pull back because these guns are devastating. When we played the other night, they wrecked me. My army was gone. I was getting overrun. And so I think that's the challenge is being aggressive, because you do have to move quick, but being sort of selectively aggressive, I think. But in any event, taking Sevastopol is an auto victory. I believe taking the Karbelnaya suburb is also an auto victory, one or the other. North side is not, but it helps. And then if you can't do that, I think holding these stars at the end of it represent minor victory points so that you can at least like probably follow the historical route of now we're going to do a long siege through the winter. But in any event, that was a fun little scenario. There are 5 campaigns, so we just played one in the newest DLC here. But yeah, let's go ahead and I guess jump to the main menu. Concert of Europe, the newest DLC for Strategic Command American Civil War by Slytherin and Matrix Games, made by Fury Software, published by Slytherin and Matrix Games, made by Fury Software. And that's where we wrap things up, so I think that's where we'll stop here. Thanks again to the folks at Slytherin and Matrix Games for sponsoring this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed. Leave your thoughts down below. Let me know if you want to see more of this with different campaigns. I think I'm going to do a multiplayer Strategic Command World War I game with Alex, who we've played with before. One of the, I think the Imperial Struggle DLC, which is free over there. But we'll see. I'm not sure what else is coming next. Maybe some Grigsby bombing the Reich. But that'll do it for tonight. Hope you guys enjoyed, or today. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. And until next time, this is the Historical Gamer saying thank you very much for watching. And I'm out.